This week, we'll be going over the Caravan Master achievement in Fallout New Vegas. This one is for winning 30 games of Caravan during your playthrough, and whenever I saw how rare this achievement actually was, I was pretty surprised. I always actually loved playing Caravan whenever I did a Fallout New Vegas playthrough, mostly because I thought it was a really easy way to make a lot of money, but it seems a lot of people never learned how it actually worked and therefore just didn't like it. So I'm going to go over all of the rules, how you play it, and what my kind of general strategy is for whenever I go through, so that you can get these 30 wins done. And now, let's get into it. So the Caravan Master achievement is of course for winning 30 games of Caravan during your playthrough. You can get this done super early on because you can actually get your free deck from Ringo in the Good Springs gas station. You can of course find other cards to add to the deck as you go exploring the Mojave, but you're perfectly capable of winning games with this base deck. In terms of cards to use from that base deck, I went with essentially putting everything in there other than some of the lower numbers and the Joker cards. You might want to take a few of the face cards out to thin the deck out a bit to speed up the games. 10s, 9s, 8s, and 7s are going to be your main number cards that you want to have in your deck. Then you'll have some of the lower numbers to fill it out as much as needed. For the most part, all of the values of the cards are what you'd think they'd be, but the face cards are where things get a little more complicated. The Jack card acts as a way to remove one of the rows of cards within a column. During the course of the game, you'll be placing your Caravan cards down on a column, and some next to a card on its row. Once a Jack is played, either on one of your Caravans or on an opponent's, that row of cards will be discarded. The Queen card is kind of just an Uno reversal, but in changing the way that you have to place your cards on a Caravan. So if you started with low numbers and were working your way up, then you placed down a Queen on that Caravan, you'd be able to start working your way back down and use smaller cards. This can of course also be placed on the opponent's Caravans if you want. The last face card to really worry about is the King card, which essentially just doubles the value of the card you placed on. If you have multiple Kings placed on one card's row, then of course it will double again. Like the other face cards, you can also place those on the opponent's cards to put them over the edge and ruin that Caravan. Now, I did say not to worry about Jokers, mainly because they require a lot more thought to successfully use them and you really don't need it. If you're playing against other people, they'd likely be more useful, but against the AI, you just don't need them. Essentially, they act as a trickier Jack. If you play it on a face card, it will remove every single card of that same suit. So if you played it on a Diamond Queen card, you'd get rid of every other Diamond card on both your and your opponent's Caravans. If you played it on a number card, then you'd get rid of every single card of that same number value regardless of suit. But okay, with a deck created, we can go ahead and get into a game of Caravan with Ringo.
So, you feel like playing a game?
As you can see here, we have our deck on the far right, our starting hand of 8 cards to the left of it, and the 6 Caravan spots to the left of that. The 3 on top being your opponent's, and the 3 on bottom being yours. Starting out, you'll both take turns placing 1 card on each of your Caravans. The way the Caravans are built will be trending either up or down in value, so you'll want to place cards that are either very low or very high to make sure you have some room to build your Caravans. So that's simple enough there, you just place the cards down on the Caravan in whichever order it's trending, but there is another little twist with the numbers to allow you to place some other cards. If you have a number as the last card on a Caravan, you can actually place another number card of the same suit next to it regardless of what the number is. That can also change if the Caravan is trending down or up from what that next card was that you placed. You do also have options of discarding cards from your hand or for discarding an entire Caravan track. I honestly don't use either of those too often, but it can come in handy on matches that aren't going super well. So with those mechanics out of the way, how do you actually win a game? Well, that's probably the simplest part of this game. You just need to get your Caravan values between 21 to 26 for them to sell, and there has to be one selling from each column. This includes your opponents, by the way, so if both of you have Caravans ready to sell in a row, you want yours to be of the higher value without going over 26. For example, in this game against the Mojave Express's own Johnson Nash, he put up a pretty big fight.
You think you have what it takes, kid?
He's honestly one of the better AI early in the game, so I wouldn't recommend trying to farm him as it's going to add some time on how long it takes to get through them all. At this point, he had the middle and furthest right both selling at the highest value. I had my furthest right ready to sell, but his was better than mine, so it would have counted for him. So if one of us brought one of the left caravans up to sell, he would beat me at this point. So of course, I bring my furthest right up to match his, and oh, he actually could have won this one if he didn't play the king on my side. Okay, so maybe his AI is still pretty forgiving. But anyway, I start dismantling his caravans and building up my own until I finally have all 3 of mine ready to sell, and his were all too small. And with enough of that, since this is a guide on the actual Caravan Master achievement, it's only fitting that we go over who you can actually farm this with. And it all goes back to the man it started with, our boy Ringo. After you help him in Good Springs, he'll make his way up to the Crimson Caravan Company where you can find him and continue robbing him of all of his money since he has a gambling addiction with Caravan. Probably shouldn't think about that part while beating him though. So yeah, go there to start the grind, and I'll use one of the games with him to go through my general strategy to get through these games. So starting out, of course, we're going to go through and take turns putting down 1 card to start each row, either something on the low or the high end. Then, when they start raising one of their caravan rows up, we're going to start raising the other 2 rows on our side. That way, if they fully commit on that one, we can have the other 2 covered and win quickly. If they start raising up their other 2, we don't really care as long as it's still lower than ours, and most of the time it's going to be a very clean game going this way. Every once in a while, they'll put up a bit more of a fight, and you'll have to get a little bit trickier to get your win. But there are the basic concepts of playing Caravan, and how you can win your 30 games needed to get the Caravan Master achievement. And with that one done, make sure you check out my Fallout New Vegas playlist for my other New Vegas guides or whatever video of mine YouTube recommends. And also, make sure you subscribe, like the video, you know the drill.